In response to the September 2001 terrorist attack on New York's World Trade Center and the Pentagon, President George W. Bush launched the global war on terrorism. For over a decade, American troops continue to fight a widespread insurgency in Afghanistan and Iraq. The U.S. is currently engaged in 3 separate combat operations: Operation Enduring Freedom, OEF, Operation Iraqi Freedom, OIF, and Operation New Dawn, OND. The profession of soldiery as a part of a military has been around since before recorded history itself. There are great strengths in our U.S. military culture: common basic values, ethics, performance expectations, and standards are high across all ranks and in all branches of our service, including the Reserve and the Guard. You see, no matter what branch or era of service, the common threads shared by our military personnel and veterans and their socialization include honor, integrity, loyalty, and commitment. The Army has provided the bulk of U.S. troops to Afghanistan and Iraq, more than 73% as of 2014. Most of these soldiers are working on their 2nd, 3rd, 4th year of cumulative deployed duty. The wars in Iraq and Afghanistan are the longest combat operations since Vietnam. Our troops are at risk for death or injury. They are on alert around the clock. These and other factors impact their ability and level of stress, which is directly correlated to post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD. This chart demonstrates the level of stress in each combat theater. A body of research shows that there is a strong link between PTSD and post-traumatic stress, PTSD and combat stress. Some of the factors that lead to PTSD include being a female, a longer deployment time, having a lower rank, having traumatic brain injury, or being a part of the Guard or Reserve. The diagnostic criteria for post-traumatic stress disorder on this table includes a history of exposure to a traumatic event that meets specific stipulation and symptoms. So how many of our troops actually suffer from PTSD? Well, it depends on who you ask, and those numbers vary. As you can see, the Department of Veteran Affairs, the numbers are somewhat in the middle, but there is no actual data to substantiate which of those numbers are precise. Traumatic brain injury remains the signature wound of OIF and OEF soldiers. Since 2001, more than 195,000 soldiers have been screened for suspected brain injury. Traumatic brain injury and PTSD symptoms overlap, so it's sometimes difficult to differentiate the symptoms due to multiple blast exposures. PTSD is also a risk for substance use disorder. The amount of substance abuse doubles both before and after deployment. Substance abuse causes more stress. Many of our soldiers have complained about concerns of substance abuse and conflicts with others. This may be even more so for our National Guard and Reserve soldiers who do not expect to be away from home for so long. Military families relocate 10 times more than other civilian families, on average every 2 to 3 years. Service members are more likely to be married at a younger age and have younger children in the home when compared to their civilian counterparts. These dynamics can sometimes negatively impact families and the soldiers' ability to successfully reintegrate into their homes and their community. There is also a direct correlation to PTSD and intimate partner violence. Our combat veterans comprise more than 21% of our nation's domestic violence. And researchers have found that veterans diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder are more likely to perpetuate violence towards their partners. The majority of domestic violence cases are involved female victims. Women have been a part of the military effort dating back to the Revolutionary War. Women are evaluated quite differently than their male counterparts. In January 2013, the ban was lifted on females serving in direct combat roles. This ban also propelled many females and men to be at risk for military sexual trauma, or MST. MST can occur during peacetime, training, and in war, and it happens to both men and women. So despite the efforts of the U.S. Department of Defense and the Veterans Health Administration, many of our soldiers still do not seek appropriate treatment. Some of the reasons they offer is their peers losing confidence in them, their concerns about privacy, and access to services. You see, without appropriate treatment, these mental health problems can have a wide-ranging impact on the quality of life of our veterans and military personnel. It is important to let veterans know that effective treatment does exist for PTSD. To facilitate transitioning from military to civilian life, the VA is reaching out to OIF and OEF veterans. And perhaps this presentation has provided you with just a little bit more information about our men and women in uniform who serve and protect this nation. Thank you.